see Muslims praying in the streets all the time, in the aisles of airplanes, in front of buses, in the most ludicrous places? Why do we see Times Square filled with Muslims praying when there are mosques all around? What is happening? What's interesting to note here is that there's actually a hadith where Prophet Muhammad says that Muslims shouldn't pray on roads, that they shouldn't be praying in public spaces where they could be annoying people and getting in their way. But extremists have chosen to say that these hadith are not authentic, that they in fact should be praying in places where it's inconvenient for others. And the reason why they want to do this is because they want to show that they can do whatever they want to do. It's a show of force. They want you to see how many of them are out there and how they are willing and able to enforce their will on you in your country. I grew up as a fundamentalist Muslim. I grew up in this Islamist ideology. I was forced into a marriage with an Al-Qaeda terrorist. I intimately understand that mindset. And when they're praying in the streets like that, it's a message to anyone and everyone who can see them. We are here, and we are loud, and we are proud, and we are taking over.
The endless cries of Allahu Akbar, knowing this isn't simply an offering of prayer like the Lord's Prayer, and if Christians had in recent memory been massacring people whilst screaming the Lord's Prayer in ecstasy, I think that Christians would have the decency to pipe down a bit about shouting it in public squares en masse. But the cry of Allahu Akbar that we're forever told is simply like it's just a prayer, like saying the Sikh Heil in America is just a quoting of German.
Every Allahu Akbar reminds people that we're in a very serious struggle with a very depraved religion.
So there are over 500 mosques in New York, but they take to the streets and have to pray in public. They're doing this, clearly, I mean, it's just crazy to see, but they're doing this to show their dominance and to show that they are taking over the culture and taking over our land, and they don't care how we feel about it.
Some were saying, well, it's not an attempt to assert religious dominance. Oh, yes, it is. It is absolutely an attempt. You play super loud calls to prayer. It's not like a church bell. Church bells are just bells, and a lot of times they denote the time. No. You're broadcasting a massive, loud demand to go to prayer. It is audibly dominant, purposefully so. People block the streets. That's dominance. That is you trying to colonize.
To have a society that's going through a religious collapse, it's probably not the society to introduce lots of people from a belief system that historically is antagonistic to it. They have no doubts at all. Like, you're full of doubt and you're all over the place, and you introduce people that are absolutely certain of their rectitude and their system, and that is just a foolish experiment. You're going through a crisis of confidence in your own system, which is collapsing, and a lot of the people in your own society are attacking it and undermining it. At the same time that you're inviting people that have no such doubts and are absolutely certain.
Praying in front of churches is also an act of domination, especially significant churches such as Westminster Abbey, perhaps the most sacred Anglican church in this country, as you can see in this footage here, despite there being over 500 mosques in London, and many Muslim majority areas too, that they could do this in.
And for the first time ever, the King allowed hundreds of Muslims to break their fast in a royal residence.
Windsor Castle is the most famous castle in England and one of the most famous in Europe. It was originally built in the 11th century, shortly after the Norman conquest in 1066. This was around the same time as the First Crusade, and ironically, 1,000 years later, here we are. This is the castle of the current King Charles, who is the head of the Church of England, one of the most important Protestant churches in history. The hosting of this event in this castle is an incredibly symbolic act of domination.
Windsor Castle has seen a lot in its 1,000 years, but never this.
We never thought we'd be here breaking it down. We've really come a long way.
This event, like countless others, is just a domino in the gradual capitulation of the integrity and agency of the native British people. Fortunately for the Muslims, the self-hating, virtue-signaling, white British useful idiots of the cultural left will say yes to anything the Muslim community requests. And King Charles clearly saw this as an opportunity for good interfaith relations. He himself has a soft spot for Islam.
Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak.
I feel the King is an excellent ambassador for this cause, and he's committed to community cohesion, to welcoming community of communities, celebrating different faith groups, and also we're incredibly grateful for his support towards the British Muslim community.
Omar Salah. This is a man who is associated with the extreme organisation UK Cage, whose research director once celebrated Jihadi John as a beautiful young man.
So yeah, Windsor Castle was a landmark victory for the Muslim Ummah in the West, but it was only to be the first of many.
I know you've done iftars in Brighton and Birmingham and Bradford and Blackburn and Cambridge and Glasgow. We saved the best till last, right? we think that we will have more people doing iftar here today than ever before. We think we're going to break the record for the biggest iftar, not just in London, not just in UK, not just in Europe, but in the Western world.
Yes, that's right. Trafalgar Square, 2026. Trafalgar Square is one of the most recognisably British public spaces, which made it a prime target for not only an act of domination, but, more importantly, demoralisation. Asserting dominance in culturally significant spaces in order to demoralise a population is a tactic that has been used by invaders throughout history, from ISIS to the Nazis and going all the way back to ancient history.
We like the idea that we can have some religious celebrations in public, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, and all of those things. There is a difference with Islam because they do these big displays. We've seen them around the world. We've seen them take over New York, Times Square, and we're seeing this more and more. I think it's very hard now to argue that it's anything but an act of dominance. I don't imagine that each individual person out praying is seeing it that way, but as a group, that is how it comes across, and I think that's what's important here. Ultimately, a Muslim can pray at home. A Muslim can pray in the mosque. There are plenty of mosques. We have countless churches that have just been converted into mosques. This is also happening to synagogues. I don't see the need to do this publicly, except for the fact, and this is just true, that Islam is proselytizing religion. They are evangelizing. That is just a fact. It is in the open. Nobody's got any qualms. They don't make any qualms about this. They are trying to convert. The idea is to turn this into a Muslim country. I think gradually, unless something drastic happens, that probably will happen. That's the historic precedent, and this is one of the ways that it begins to happen.
There was a time in history when even the thought of insulting our Prophet or desecrating the Quran would put the fear in the hearts of the enemies of Islam. A time where the shadow of our nation was enough to make the hateful tremble.
So what's the politicians gonna say now? What's the media gonna say now? That we're all extremists? We're all radicals? We need to deport all of us from this country? Subhanallah.
What do you think of it all?
Rubbish.
Rubbish?
Rubbish.
Why do you say that?
Well, there's a lot of friggin' rubbish.
Well, you live here, and this is a colourful religious parade going right past your front door.
Yeah, all their religion. We done it, we'd be thrown out of the bloody country. We're not allowed to do out like this. We can't have our say.
Stop it. Get some help. Stop it. Get some help.
The thing is, what are you saying? Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
This is Bradford now. What's English about this? Is this English culture? Would you say this is an English town? And there's so many people that will say it has no effect on culture. You know, we can bring in whoever we want and it doesn't impact culture.
This is the signs of being demographically and religiously replaced. Just behind me there, another guy doing dawah that refuses to... Now, fun fact about Speaker's Corner, according to Hyde Park regulation, you can't actually have organised prayer and worship just for the sake of it being fair. There's sort of a technical loophole. That is the entrance to Hyde Park. This is outside of Speaker's Corner, where organised prayer can take place. And as you can tell, just behind me is a dawah centre, a sort of, I don't know, HQ for the Muslims to film and also give dawah to. And there's these sort of pop-up spans across the country, so God knows who funds them, probably Middle Eastern foreign lobbying groups. The entrance here, Stokes, a sort of symbolism of dominance, so to speak. The first thing you see at Speaker's Corner is the Muslim Adhan call to prayer, as you can hear behind me. And of course, you're more likely to think the Muslims have more of a place at Speaker's Corner, sort of suggesting some divine defense or some sort of divine dominance.
An ex-Muslim turned Christian evangelist who has been beaten, chased by mobs, unlawfully jailed, and even stabbed.
Can someone call ambulance, please? Somebody call the ambulance, bro.
All for the sake of the gospel. This is not Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia, however. It is officially Christian Britain. Her name is Hatun Tash, and what's been done to her has even caught the attention of the British media. She knows Muslims are looking for her in order to kill her. One man has already been sentenced to 24 years in prison for trying.
And in particular, our theme today is Sharia law or man-made law, which is better for mankind.
England is so cooked. All wearing black, all masked up. Yeah, it leads one way, and that's civil unrest. You have now two completely different groups living in the same area. They're obviously not going to get on. These people are wearing black, their face is covered, they have masks on, and they're shouting, whose streets are streets? And they're all foreign. So what's going to happen? What's the inevitable end? You think everyone's just going to live in harmony? That's why it's so important you actually have borders for a country. If you don't, you're going to invite this into it. I don't want this for Ireland. Ireland still has a chance. I don't want Ireland to head down the same direction England's heading. Where now you have foreign men wearing all black, face covered, saying our streets. Why would anyone want that in their country?
Oh my God. Oh hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy. Get your goddamn ugly ass on.
For how much longer will we continue to tolerate this behavior? Remember, the quieter we are, the louder they get.
Assalamu alaikum.
And the reason why they want to do this is because they want to show that they can do whatever they want to do. It's a show of force. They want you to see how many of them are out there and how they are willing and able to enforce their will on you in your country. And when they're praying in the streets like that, it's a message to anyone and everyone who can see them. We are here and we are loud and we are proud and we are taking over.